What is going on, everybody? It's Dylan from Redline here, back with another video. If it looks like I have the exact same outfit as I do from my last outfit and I'm in the same place, well, it's because I am being productive today and filming 2 videos. Today's topic of discussion is going to be a good one. B5 Audi S4 reliability. So let's hop in this thing and get a cold start video. So if you've ever looked into Audis or any performance sedan that might be all-wheel drive or turboed, or just any fun car that you can drive year-round, you've probably come across the B5 Audi S4 and thought, man, that's a pretty cool car. But then, as soon as you go to do any research about these lovely creatures, you come to find out that they're supposedly unreliable and they're junk and they'll break every time you drive them, and you couldn't daily drive one of these, and so on and so forth. Just compounds and compounds of information about how unreliable the B5 Audi S4 is. Well, today I'm here to probably break down some of those myths, let you guys know my experiences with B5 S4s. I've had 3 different ones, different variants, whether it be stage 3 and different turbo configurations and whatnot. I'm gonna let you guys know my experience with this platform. Might I add, my experience with the B5 S4 is also coming from the most reliable Audi, arguably, the 3.0 T cars, because that's what got me initially in Audi. So I went from arguably the most reliable to the most unreliable really quick. Now, if you're in anything car automotive related, feel free to stick around, subscribe. I do not just have that B5, I also have this B8.5 S4. More videos coming on that soon. Got a pretty built up Duramax turbo Fox body and a 600 horsepower turbo K-Series Miata. So quite the variety of cars, plus a few other ones, but quite the variety nonetheless. We like racing, anything of that sort, so if that floats your boat, feel free to stick around. So let's start off with some common problems of the B5 S4 that you might find if you're looking them up. Turbo problems are probably the biggest thing you're going to come across. Now, the factory KO3 turbos that come in these cars kind of get a bad rep, especially on the tuned cars. A lot of that is it's a tuned car pushing way more boost than the car was intended to push initially, and a lot of those guys on tuned S4s are beating the absolute nuts off of them in boost 24/7 and just driving them super hard so the turbos go bad. Now, on a normal turbo car or any other turbo car, I guess, that has them in a different location, this problem probably wouldn't be as drastic. However, the turbos on the B5 S4 are mounted at the bottom of the motor basically, and it's essentially an engine out job to have to replace them. And when you're doing that, you might as well upgrade them, and it just turns into a snowball effect, as I've talked about in previous videos. So I will say, on a stock turbo B5, I can understand the turbos being a point of concern, especially if they have not been replaced at all, just due to the nature of where they're located and all that. Now, personally, I have not owned a stock turbo B5 S4. I've only had KO4 variants from different brands and whatnot, different configurations. But I have had a couple of friends that have had KO3 cars, and when the cars are on stock boost and not getting beat on, obviously the turbos are fine. But the second you go to tune them and push more power and do anything that the stock turbo was not intended for, that's when the problems come. So if you do have a mostly stock B5, I wouldn't be too worried about your stock KO3s. There's different things that you can do to help with the longevity of the turbos, but if it's not tuned or anything, you don't drive super crazy, you probably don't have too much to worry about. Now, obviously, as I said, there's a couple things you can do to help with the longevity of the turbos, regardless of what turbo you have. Prime example of that is being this car is equipped with a Greddy turbo timer, which helps a lot with longevity of turbos. Basically, when you shut your key off, your car is going to idle for an extra minute or whatever you set it for to keep the oil circulating, give the turbos time to cool down and be good. Going off of that, I always keep an eye on my oil temp. I do not beat on my car if my car's not up to temp. If you cold start your car and go and do pulls, obviously that's just stupid as can be to begin with, but that does not help with the life of your turbos. Your car has to be up to temp and running properly before you go and beat on it and act like an idiot. Along with that, if you are tuning the vehicle, proper tuning helps. The way you build boost can help. Just there's a million different things that can help with longevity, but a lot of it's common sense and not just getting in your car, beating the balls off of it 24/7, not changing your oil, not checking your oil, just acting belligerent with the car, and then people get mad that their turbos blow. The same can be said for the KO4 guys like myself. A lot of them get in the cars and they think, oh, I replaced my KO3s. These turbos are invincible. No, they're really not invincible. They're a lot more reliable, yes, but not invincible. They can still go bad if you act like a moron and kill them. In my personal experiences, I've had these OEM Borg Warners on 2 different cars. I've had F21 Franken turbos, and I can't remember what hybrid turbos were on my other one, but I've had very good luck in terms of turbos and burning oil and all that. I've never really ran into any of those issues. Now, other than turbo failures, you'll see a lot of people on the Facebook groups and forums complaining about misfires and boost leaks and the car's cutting out in boost or not idling right and various issues regarding those. Now, obviously, with any turbo car, any of that stuff can happen. If you've ever owned a modified turbo car, then I'm sure you know all this like the back of your hand. So once again, these cars are getting old. Plastic's gonna go bad. Different silicone hoses might tear. Stuff's gonna happen. So that's to be expected. A lot of the problems actually come from the factory coils and ICMs, which I still have, surprisingly. That's like my next thing I gotta get rid of because they are kind of junk. The factory coils, the factory ICMs, which are the ignition control modules, are prone to failure. Now, that is one thing that will go bad. I can almost guarantee it. Now they have the 2.0T coil conversion, so you can run the updated coils, which are a lot cheaper, and your car will run 100 times smoother. I've had the coil conversion done on all my previous S4s, and that is the next thing to be done to this. However, I just picked it up, so I'm still working out all the little kinks. But that is one thing that will go wrong on your B5. Boost leaks will occur, especially when you're turning up the boost. Factory bipipes are not all solid like this. This likes to blow off. Factory diverter valves go bad. Just a bunch of like random miscellaneous things boost related will happen that will cause boost leaks. I mean, like I said before, older car stuff's gonna tear, stuff's gonna rip. It just happens. The PCV setup from the factory is kind of junk. This car has all silicone replaced stuff. The next common problem you'll probably hear about is the control arms and other suspension related issues. Now, these cars are coming up on 20, 25 years old here soon. The control arm bushings and other bushings in the suspension, other bushings in general are gonna go bad. That's just how things age. They'll dry rot, they'll tear, stuff like that. Now, they are kind of a hassle to change in these cars because there's so many, and just the way that the suspension's set up in these is different than, say, different American cars and whatnot. But personally, I don't find that as a reason to downplay these cars. I mean, it's an older car. Bushings are going to get worn, especially when they're coming up on 200,000-300,000 miles. Stuff's going to go wrong. That's just a wear and tear item that can happen on any vehicle. But just be aware, if you're having a shop do your control arms on these, it will get a little pricey. So if you're buying one, it's good to ask and see if they've already been done. I'm certain part of the reason that these cars get a bad maintenance or reliability rep is due to the fact that people buy these and think they can just hop in, tune them, and beat the balls off of them and nothing's going to go wrong. Now, this may have been the case 20 years ago when the cars were new and all the parts were brand new off the showroom floor, but it's not. These cars are 20 years old and they need their maintenance before you can beat on them. Any car is going to need maintenance. These might be a little more temperamental than like your Toyota Corolla, but if you're going to be beating on the car, tuning it, etc., maintenance needs to be done. And I think a lot of people just skip that fact completely, as they do with a lot of other cars, but they emphasize it on these because when these do break, they're probably a little more pricey than, say, your Turbo Civic or something along those lines. Another thing a lot of people complain about, which I just think is so silly, is like rattles and all that stuff in the interior. Once again, these are 20 plus years old. Stuff's going to rattle. To me, that's to be expected, but I guess other people, maybe they come from a newer Audi or another German car that's newer and they expect everything to just be top-notch luxury, and it's just not, that's not the case. Other common issues, I guess you could say, these transmissions get a weird rep. I'm not honestly the biggest fan of B5 transmissions. I feel, at least coming from newer Audis or like muscle cars when I'm used to, they shift a little weird. I don't know how to really explain it, but they're a little bit different. They're not my favorite feeling transmission. If you're curious what my favorite feeling transmission is, it's a Miata of all things. A stock shifter in a Miata is just mint. But a lot of people blow transmissions up. First and second gear, the shift collar goes bad. Synchros can go bad. Hasn't been too common in my case. Every B5 I've had has already had the upgraded 1 to 2 shift collars and synchros and short throws and so on and so forth. But they are to be noted, if you're going to be like tuning one and whatnot, you might want to look into all that. A lot of people complain about various electrical issues, like the center screen not functioning properly, or various electronics throughout the car not functioning or glitching out. Honestly, from an electrical standpoint, I haven't had too many issues other than actually 2 window regulators. And on my very first B5, my center screen was pixelated, but that didn't really bother me. All the stuff that people complain about is fixable and can be replaced, so I don't know. I think if you go into a B5 expecting it to be not necessarily a project car, but just expect that stuff's going to happen, you're going in with the right mindset. You can't go in just thinking that this thing's a Camry. I will say, personally, I've had amazing luck in these cars. Knock on wood again. I daily drove my first one all through winter last year, probably put 10,000 miles on it in cold weather. The heat was amazing. The heated seats were amazing. It was, I mean, for being 20 years old, in my opinion, very comfortable. This car's been good so far. It needs stupid stuff, obviously, like every other B5 is going to need. But mechanically, they've all been good to me. So I guess more so, I can start talking about my personal experience driving these things, how much I've actually driven them, and in what aspects. So my very first B5, I bought it about, 2 years ago as my winter beater. Drove it for a couple months, had a buddy message me on Facebook, want to buy it, and I sold it to him. The next one I actually got off a family friend that it was just sitting in storage for years and years and years. I drove it. I put a ton of miles on that car. It was a stage 3 Borg Warner car. It was just amazing. And that car really made me fall in love with the B5. Everyone talked about how unreliable it was going to be and whatnot. Literally, I bought the car, did the 2.0 coil conversion. I think I put a new MAF on it and fixed 2 vacuum leaks. All of about 2 hours of total work, and the car ran flawless for the next 10, 15,000 miles. And most of those things were only bad because the car had been sitting for just years and years and years. Now onto this B5, it is a stage 3 Borg Warner KO4 car as well. All the supporting mods have already been done, so nothing really to note there. I've honestly had good luck with it. I've put about 1,200 miles on it in the past few weeks. And the car has not skipped a beat. I mean, it's been awesome. I don't think I'm going to drive it in the winter because I have the B8.5 that I picked up. But I might drive it through a snowfall just to have a little bit of fun, some quattro fun, but I don't know yet. The sad thing is the car's from Florida, so it's like absolutely spotless. So it kind of like makes me feel weird driving it in the snow because it's never seen really any inclement weather, let alone Ohio blizzards. So, but yeah, I guess the point I'm trying to make in this video is I'm not really all too sure that B5s deserve the reputation that they have. I've had 3 of them. I probably have a combined, I don't know, 5, 6, 7,000 miles driven, daily driving them, cold starts in the morning. Like, in my previous ones were in very inclement weather, summer days, any and everything. I don't see where the bad reputation's coming from, especially if you pick up a KO4 car that's already tuned, has already had the supporting mods done. I don't see where everyone gets the bad rap. Now, maybe if you have a bone stock KO3 car, you tune it, you go and beat the crap out of it, and then it breaks. Well, that's just to be expected, I think. So I'm just not all too sure that these deserve the rep that they really have. And to be honest, it's not like the ones that I'm driving are all like super low mile mint cars. This one has 204,000 miles. The one before that was like 160 or 170, and the one before that was like 150. So, I mean, that's all pretty decent mileage, at least for like drivetrain stuff. And I just haven't had the problems. I mean, the stuff that goes wrong in these, I feel that stuff's to be expected. So I apologize for this video being a little bit of all over. I kind of turned into a rant a little bit because it just makes me mad that people say these things are junk and unreliable and they're not worth no money. These are awesome cars. I freaking love B5s. I've had multiple Audis, and B5s continue to be my favorite. Just the combination of the comfortability they still offer with the raw feeling of an old car, it's just awesome. I am a little biased towards old stuff, but just the driving experience these cars give you is just amazing. And they're just flat out fun. There's nothing else to say about it. On that note, guys, I hope you got the memo that these things aren't junk and they're not ultra unreliable. Get one that's been maintained where you can see the owner and see what the deal is with it. And if you go into it with the right mindset, I'm sure you'll love B5 ownership and keep it for years to come. So on that note, guys, I have nothing else to say. Hopefully I got my point across. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.